Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss T.S. Eliot's critical essay called Tradition and Individual Talent. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. T.S. Eliot was a prominent literary critic of the 20th century, and his essay Tradition and Individual Talent, which he wrote in the year 1919, paved the way for the literary discourse in the 20th century. T.S. Eliot's essay is a part of his collection called The Sacred Wood: Essays on Poetry and Criticism, which was published in the year 1920. Now, this particular essay brought about a new wave of change in literature, where after the aftermath of World War I, there was a significant change in the way artistic works were being created by the poets and writers, which also paved the way for the modernist movement in English literature, challenging the conventions of poetry. So let me quickly tell you the central idea of this essay. I may look here and there in between, you might think, but that is just to refer to the text while I am explaining this to you. So he presents two main arguments in the essay. Firstly, in this essay, he redefines tradition as something which is a dynamic interplay of past and the present times, emphasizing the necessity for poets to be deeply immersed in the literary history, and once they are able to refer to history, to understand history, they will be able to compose good works of art in the present times. So this is his first argument. Now, to talk about the second argument that he makes in this essay is he asserts the concept of poetic impersonality. Now, what is it? He says that the poet has to self-sacrifice in order to be able to connect to the collective consciousness of people in the society, keeping his personal emotions and thought processes aside, which will help him to create works of art in a better way. So let us now discuss the detailed summary of what this essay is all about. For our convenience and understanding, I have divided it into three parts in total. Okay, the first part I call Revisiting Tradition. You can see a quote from the text which is relevant over here. Now, to explain this, T.S. Eliot basically argues that the contemporary writers do not take into consideration the idea of tradition. There is very limited application of the idea of tradition in their texts. He says that it is only when the writers are able to refer to the literary history and they are able to take inspiration from it and apply it to their works of art which they are writing, that is when there will be a newness, freshness in the creative works. Their creative inputs will improve over time. There will be seen a real evolution in its true sense. I'm so sorry I broke the flow of your video, but do you know 94% of you are watching the video and not subscribing. If you think this video is useful or is adding some value to your life, do hit the subscribe button. Let us now discuss the second part of the essay, which is called The Impersonal Poet. Now, over here, T.S. Eliot basically says that true art will arise from poets' self-sacrifice. When the poet submits to the creative conscious, he will be able to create a better work of art. And over here he compares the poet's mind to a catalyst. He says that the artist's role is to just serve as a medium of fusion of emotions and experiences. He highlights that the poet must be detached from the work of art that he is creating. He has to keep his emotions, his thoughts aside when he is creating, and it is only then that a true beautiful work of art will come out. When I am recording this video, there could be certain problems which are there in my life, or when you are watching this video, there could be things which are worrying you, but for these next few minutes you have submitted yourself to the video by understanding what the video is all about. So that is exactly what he says in this part of impersonality also, that he has to give up his personality, keep his personal emotions aside to be able to fully and wholly create a piece of work. The third part I call implications for poetry. Now in this particular section, Eliot argues about what are the practical implications of poetry. Now what do I mean by that? Let me read a little and explain it to you. Eliot over here says that true appreciation of poetry requires a shift in focus of attention from the poet to the poem. Now what do I mean by that? You don't have to focus on the personality of the poet. You have to focus on the poem, and when you immerse yourself into the poem, you are going to understand that work of art completely. And that is what he says over here. He concludes by asserting that the poet's immersion in the present moment of the past is important in achieving the poetic genius. It is only when the poet submits himself completely will he be able to be detached from the work of art that he is creating, because over here, remember, it is a modern world, a modern period which T.S. Eliot is referring to. And even in the modern times, are we not all separate individuals? We all require our own individual space, right? So that is the same thing that he is saying, that the text also requires an individual space which is different from the poet, and it is only when the work of art exists independently will the reader be able to create or derive his or her own meaning out of it. We can understand this essay better by looking at these four important ideas which are there. Number one is tradition and evolution, second is poetic impersonality, third is artistic consciousness, and fourth is the role of a poet. Let us discuss them in details now. The first idea is tradition and evolution. Eliot emphasizes the dynamic nature of tradition. Remember, history, tradition is not something which is static or a thing of the past as per T.S. Eliot. He says rather that tradition plays a crucial role in the evolution of poetry. He says tradition is a matter of much wider significance, and he emphasizes the necessity of having historical consciousness, that is, references being made to history. It involves the historic sense, which we may call nearly indispensable to anyone who would continue to be a poet. Eliot argues that tradition is not static. You know what? Tradition is actually modified when you are composing new works of art. You are taking snippets of it from history, putting in your own freshness to it and making it something new. So what does he say over here? The line in the essay is that the past should be altered by the present as much as present is directed by the past. So this highlights how there is a fluid relationship between tradition and innovation, because new poets can contribute in this way to the ongoing evolution. Even the movies, the web series that we all watch, what is it that they are doing? They are pointing out the issues which were prevailing in the history, or things of history are actually redefined. Do you think there are actually so many new ideas that they keep composing new poems, new movies, or new web series? No, they refer to the things of the past, and based on their current ongoing things around them, their own states, their own emotions, they are able to come up with something new. The second concept that he talks about is poetic impersonality. Now this is a central theme in Eliot's essay. I wanted to take up poetic impersonality separately because poetic impersonality is a central theme in Eliot's essay, where he says that the poet must be detached from personal emotions when he is in the process of creating something new. The line in the essay is, the progress of an artist is a continual self-sacrifice, a continual extinction of personality. So he emphasizes over here that the poet's role when he is creating a work of art is, that work of art is going to go out in the public. It will be open to universal emotions, and for that, according to Eliot, the poet must keep his personal life aside, so that he is able to create a work of art which contains scope for universal emotions rather than individual experiences. He compares the poet's mind to a catalyst, stating that the mind of a poet is the shred of platinum, highlighting the poet's function as something of being a transformative agent, an agent of change, who will be able to transcend, to overcome his personal emotions and create something for the public. To talk about the idea of artistic consciousness, Eliot over here signifies that references being made to history are important in shaping the poetic expression. He emphasizes the poet's engagement with the literary tradition, stating the historical sense is what makes a writer traditional. So Eliot over here says that the poet must immerse, go deep in the literary heritage of both one's own country and Europe as a whole. He says that the poet must be conscious of the simultaneous order of literature and its timeless presence. That is, the poet must refer to history not just of his own country but of other countries also, so that he has greater clarity. When I also have to create a video for you all, what do? I go and refer to a lot of readings. I do a lot of reference work, and that is how I finally come up with the final product that you see as a video. There is a lot of work that goes out in the background. So even what I'm doing, I am basically explaining a text to you, right? But for it to become easier for you to understand, I do my own research, and it's always that I will have to understand the text before I teach it to you all. Otherwise, I only start feeling very uncomfortable. So what happens when I read multiple articles? It opens up my mind. It gives me new ways of explaining things to you, and that is the same thing which will happen when an artist is involved in the creative process. And this last part he calls as the role of the poet. He interrogates what exactly is the role of the poet, because basically a poet is someone who is a mediator between tradition and individual creativity. He emphasizes the poet's responsibility to contribute to the ongoing evolution of poetry, stating the existing order is to complete before the new work arrives. For order to persist after supervention of novelty, the whole existing order must be, if ever so lightly altered. This is a line from the essay that is written. So this highlights the poet's role. That is, the poet must refer to the traditions, must refer to the history, and through that he will be able to add his own touch to the work that he is creating, and that is how a new work of art will be created. And additionally, Eliot highlights that the poet's self-sacrifice and detachment from his personal emotions are essential aspects when the poet is involved in the process of creativity. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.